Okay, guys, we are on. We are on. Hold on. Good evening, everyone. This is Mitchell Jones with Live Life Live, and I have a couple of my friends here. We were expecting two more who are having technical difficulties getting in. If they show up, we will be more than willing to bring them into our discussion. But we are here and we are live right now in your homes. Where are you? In your car? Where are you? On your job? But we are here and we are going to be discussing COVID-19 to lift or not to lift restrictions. We are not here to give you any medical advice, any financial advice. We are here to express our opinions, our own beliefs, and you feel free to to chime in during the chat, and you can say what it is that you want to say there within reason. We just ask that you would be respectful of everyone's personal opinions and their beliefs and their cultures. We are all on individual journeys, but we are here experiencing the same storm, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I want my guests who are here. I want to give them an opportunity to give their name and what their occupation or profession is, and what state and the city, if they so choose to give you this the city from whence they're calling. We'll start with Cedric.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Cedric Williams. I currently reside in Lithonia. I'm originally from Thomasville, Georgia, by way of Albany, Georgia. And my occupation is I'm in social services. So that's what I live in.
Okay, thank you, Cedric. Paul.
Well, my name is Paul Malik Robinson. I'm from Bronx, New York, and I am an entrepreneur, a graphic designer, photographer.
Okay, and if you give me a second, I've got these girls that are trying trying to sign in here, and I don't know what it's going what's they're being challenged, but we've done this before. Me and my family, we've done these Zoom conferences several times, but I don't know what the situation is and why they're having a problem. But let me just try to send one more person a link, because we do have a doctor who is going to join us, so I definitely want to get her in so that she can speak to us from a medical perspective and not just me. Okay, so first of all, let me ask you guys, how have you been personally affected by the COVID-19 situation?
Well, I guess me personally, I am virtually working from home because the office has been closed and we're not seeing clients right now. So pretty much staying at home, virtually working from home, Skype calls, Zoom calls. Um, the shelter in place order that we have expires at midnight today. So I assume that some individuals will be allowed to partake in other activities, but some cannot. Personally, it has been interesting. It's been a um, kind of a transition from normally doing what I normally do to having to kind of minimize and watch what I do and who I'm around and places that I go. But it hasn't been all bad, but it hasn't been all
Okay, Paul, you want to talk about how you've been affected?
Or with Cedric over there. It has been dramatic. It has been a dramatic change because most of my clients come out of the faith-based organizations. So because they haven't had normal activities during the week and the month, that means their income affect my income.
Absolutely. Now, when you're speaking of income, I've been affected as well, as far as my ability, not to do all that I was accustomed to doing in the way of earning money. But because of that as well, I am also able to do to do what I'm doing here with you tonight, because normally I'd be somewhere working. So it has not been, on some fronts it's been a good thing, and on other fronts it's not been such a good thing. So it seems, but ultimately I do believe that we will all be better. Yes, my good friend Sandra Jordan, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yay, I can hear you. This is my BFF. I met Sandra Jordan in 1990 at a movie theater. She was one of the managers, and I was one of the little old workers popping popcorn. And she and I have known each other since that time. I've invited her tonight, and the reason I've invited her is because she is a double organ transplant. And so she is being affected differently from Cedric, who's a social worker working from home, being affected differently from Paul, who's a business owner that is particularly seeing clients from his home the entire time. So, Sandra, I was asking them the question: how have they been affected, by the COVID-19 situation? And I'll give you
Okay,
time to answer that.
okay. You want me to start now?
Yes.
Okay. Um, well, it's been very different for me. Because when I say lockdown is a little different for me than lockdown.
Okay.
Before COVID-19, I was already wearing a mask. And now, people look at me like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? And one cashier even said, are you sick? I said, no, I'm trying to protect myself from you. Um, and, yeah. And now I go into the store, I look just like everybody else that has mask on, and they don't have to ask me anything. Except for I make sure I got my gloves on too. And how your family and your friends all have a suggestion for you. Well, all you need to do is build your immune system. And I told them, I'm not a person that can build their immune system or take any types of herbal teas or supplements or anything, because that affects my um, immune suppressant medication, and my organs could actually reject and fail. Um, so when I say lockdown, I really mean lockdown, because it's very dangerous for me to go out, period, right now, especially now that you really don't know who has it and who doesn't, with people being asymptomatic. So basically Psalms 91 has been my go-to every day. And every day I open my eyes, I say, thank you, God, for another day.
Absolutely.
Because for me, it goes beyond. I know everybody is and then a friend of mine told me, they said, well, Sandra, people are just doing what they've always done, except for now we're paying attention to it. Because if you think, I'm also an ex-principal, and if you think kids are nasty, well, guess who they learned it from?
Yeah. and Sandra has two young kids herself.
Yep.
And
And one of them have an immune deficiency. And like her teacher called and said, well, I hope we'll be able to go back to school soon, next year. And I said, well, I'm gonna tell you what, if mine go back to school next year, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that, because there's no way that you're gonna guarantee to me social distancing when these kids haven't seen each other in months now. What do you think they're going to do the first time they see? You think there's going to be social distancing, even if you say so? Furthermore, do you think that the custodians are going to have time to properly clean that building before another child sits in that seat every time they switch classes? No. I said, and number one, I don't want my child to get sick. And number two, I don't want either one of them to bring anything home to me, because then you're talking about a real different situation.
Exactly.
So basically, the only one that goes out is my husband, and he put me on severe lockdown. He said, "Oh, I don't care. You're not going anywhere, and nobody is coming over here, because I don't know where they've been."
Exactly.
So
So let's go back to Cedric for a moment. Cedric is in Georgia, where this past weekend they lifted restrictions on certain types of places, and So Cedric, did you go out this weekend?
No, I didn't. If it wasn't going out to the store or get me something to eat, I pretty much stayed in the house. And kind of to piggyback off of what you just said, I also have kidney disease and dialysis, so it prevents me from going out, and I have to watch who I'm around too because my immune system is compromised as well. So I kind of feel you on that, and especially when now that the um, order has expired and we're beginning to transition back into the office. One of our main concerns is that the cleanliness of the building. How are we going to make sure that we're practicing social distancing in the building? How are we going to practice ensuring that the building is clean? So a lot of
Yeah.
those instances that you were speaking of is the same instances that we have here in the state of Georgia, and we're still trying to understand why are we rushing to loosen or lessen the restrictions when we have so many cases and so many deaths in the state of Georgia. But I didn't go out. I limited my going out because I knew everybody's so anxious to go out. So you're gonna have an influx of a lot of
Right. So let me go from the perspective of the people, because all of us are affected differently. You're still working from home. Paul's being affected because there are people who aren't able to work who now can't employ his services. But what about the people? What about the people who are not able to work, who are just sitting at home? They don't have a way to. They've got a $1,200 stimulus check that probably went to pay groceries. Some people, even myself, I'm an independent contractor, and even we were delayed in applying for any type of unemployment, which I don't know anybody who is an independent contractor who has received any of those benefits. I know one girl who she has applied for them 3 times, and she keeps being told that the system has not received her documentation. So we're all coming from looking at the same mountain and approaching it differently. I really wish that Dr. Williams doc, Dr. Williams could get in here, um, because I was having a conversation with her, which sparked me to want to do this. And I was saying to her, I said, I asked her the question. I said, are we delaying the inevitable? Because at some point, we've we've got to go out there, whether it's in June, in December, next March 2022. At some point, we've got to go back out there. And coronavirus, from what I'm understanding right now, is expected to be out there just like the regular influenza. And so how long do we delay us coming into contact with what's out there? Now, I will admit, I stayed in for 2 weeks because I wasn't sure what was going on out there. And once I felt I was educated enough and felt comfortable enough with what was going on out there, then I began to do the things that I could do work wise to at least be able to put groceries on the table. And so there are people who are forced to go out there because they have no other way of doing, of getting food on the table. You're gonna say something, Cedric?
no. I was just
Oh,
listening.
okay. Well, let me ask you a question. Let me pose you all this question. Do you think that in terms of what type of things were opened or are being opened around the country in different cities and states, do you think that some other things should be open, like the nail salons and the beauty parlors and the barbershops in some states are opened, but not restaurants, not churches? I don't know about you. How do y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about that? Paul?
Well, I'll say them. Because I was thinking about it today when I was having a conversation with my sister, because she works on a military base. And we were talking about the things that are opening up, especially in Georgia. The types of businesses are businesses that African Americans usually run to. And but I bet you won't see a government office open. So that in itself, you need to think about that. Because if they thought it was all that safe to come out, they would open up those government offices. And who usually works in the government offices?
Exactly. Well, could it be? Could it be that there's an economic component to the particular places that they open? Because would people be more likely, particularly African American people, would we be more likely to go get a haircut over going to a restaurant to sit down and have a meal, or get our nails done?
Exactly. Or get your hair done or whatever. Or your nails. Exactly. Those pedicures.
Yes.
And it's really sad when you think about it. And then when you watch people from New York, and I was reading an article about a teacher that was only 30 years old. First, she went to the hospital with a temperature. They sent her back home. The second time she went to the hospital, they didn't have a test available. The third time, as soon as she got there by ambulance, she had to be intubated, and now she's dead. Only 30 years old. And it wasn't like she was an uneducated person, because she said her bragging point was that she went to the same college as Hillary Clinton. And
Wow.
So then I was thinking about the people on dialysis, because I was on that for 2.5 years, and how close those seats are. And every clinic that I've been in, from Williamsburg to Roanoke, Virginia, it's majority African American people or older people. But we're supposed to be so fragile, and at risk. But you're not going to take the time to change those shifts so people can sit further apart, because those machines are about here. You have about 40 machines in that little space. And sometimes you don't even have enough workers there to get to you to give you help if you're in trouble. I thought about all those things, and then I say, well, Lord, thank you for giving me those 2 organs just in time, because you knew this was coming.
Absolutely.
And I just think back on a lot of those things, because I'm in Southwestern Virginia, and while things were popping off where I used to live in Williamsburg, we didn't have any cases here. But now, of course, we have a few cases, and most of them are in the city part of Roanoke, where young people, it was a social services worker that came down with it first. Who do you think she came in contact mostly? People that were economically disadvantaged.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, all these cases started breaking out in Roanoke.
Exactly. Paul, you were going to say something?
I think it's absolutely stupid that and they are actually opening up America. I think it's absolutely absurd. Who the hell cares about your hair and your nails? And those are the ones. Okay, you open up the nail shop today. Hey, you're just preparing for your funeral in 3 days. Next. That's
absolutely.
In 3 days. I mean, yeah, we have to get back into America. We're gonna have to stimulate the economy and everything. But it's like, find a cure first. Do the backdoor things. The vaccinations, and find the cure. Like, what are we in a rush for? That's my question. What are we in the rush for? And I understand we really have to get back to work. We have to get back to what you call it, but things as normal. But I think it's still a hidden agenda. I personally think it's a hidden agenda all the way across the board, and I don't think it's one sphere. I think it's all interconnected. Entertainment industry, the religious sector, politics, economics, they all play intertwined with one another. I don't have the answer. I just think because we are a society. That's what makes up a society, is these seven spheres of, seven spheres. So one hurt, we all hurt. So it's almost like if you open up the beauty shops, okay, it will affect somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And we need restaurants, we need supermarkets. Those are essential things. I don't think getting your hair and your nails done is essential. It's essential.
You mean I don't need a haircut? It's not essential.
Yeah. It's essential, bro.
Oh, look, you know what, Cedric? You know what?
But I just got
Wait a minute. Okay, so Paul went bald, and Cedric is over there covering up. He's over there covering up his with the do-rag, and I'm sitting here looking crazy. Oh my goodness. But I just think that there's so many different aspects. I mean, Sandra brought up things that I didn't think about. Paul's in New York. He's out there where, I mean, the first few weeks when it was hitting New York real heavy, every day Paul was telling me of another preacher in New York that was passing from COVID-19 just yesterday morning, or this morning, as a matter of fact, when I opened up my Facebook and I started to scroll through my timeline, the very first 4 posts that I saw were all different people announcing deaths of loved ones. And I thought, was that intentional that they showed me posts with deaths? I mean, before it was spread out, or have we gotten to a point that it is just that many deaths, and that's just about all that people are having to write about? I mean, I didn't know, Cedric. I didn't know he had, that his immune system, that he had, that he's even there. He's even there, so he's probably thankful that he's at home and able to work. As a matter of fact, Cedric, if they told you that you needed to return to the office on Monday 5 days a week, how would you handle that?
Well, I've had that conversation with my supervisor, so I already have the proper documentation on file. So therefore, I am considered one of the vulnerable citizens and fit into the category that our governor put out today, that are required to shelter in place until June the 12th. So since I fit in that category, I don't have to return to the office. Well, I will have to remain sheltering in place until June the 12th. So I don't have to return to the office full time. I can continue to telework. And those individuals who also have small children and also who are taking care of elderly people, elderly family members or what have you, they don't have to return to the office either. And they can continue to telework. So we've already had that conversation with my management and upper management they already understand that I won't be coming back anytime.
Wow, that's good that things like that are being considered. For just people in general, because it's definitely tough times. Let's talk about for a few moments the domestic violence, the alcohol abuse, the drug abuse, the overeating. Anybody?
Now, you hear ambulance every day because we're on the phone every day, right? Ambulance and the cops. Now, I live in the Bronx. So they created a whole division just for domestic violence. So I just read a report that the numbers have skyrocketed here in New York City since this pandemic has happened, which is making people anxious, they stressed out, and then it's like you have to really be around somebody you really cannot stand half the time. So it makes the people really like lose it, or, you know, whatever. And it's mental illness that goes on here in New York too. So at a large rate. So with that being said, people are bored. So they'll, like you said, they'll sleep. But I think this is a perfect time. At the same time, as crazy as it is, it's a perfect time to, you know, to get into yourself. Find out who you are. What do you like to do? What you can discover in this moment. It's like everybody's complaining, but can we flip the switch and say, if this didn't happen, this wouldn't happen. And now I'm learning new things about myself. I'm learning, you know, restructuring things, and I'm liking this moment, even though, you know, I'm already an introvert. You know, I'm already an introvert, so it doesn't bother me. But this, it caused me to elevate in my thinking. So what seems bad can be good. I know that sounds crazy for the people that, you know, experience death, but for the ones that's living and they're having, you know, don't know what's going on, tap into yourself. Figure out what's going on in your own world and evolve.
Sandra?
Well, you know, I always think of things from an education perspective. And, you know, parents have to basically homeschool now, whether they can do it or not. And some of them are, you know, first responders and still working. And then you got to come home and you got to try to get your kid who may be in elementary, middle, or high school. You might have one in each, and get them through their process online. Not only that, we talk about domestic violence, but I also think about those kids that are now trapped in the homes with their abusers, whether that be sexually or just where they are beating the heck out of. You know, because school used to be their escape. Now they don't even have that.
Yeah, you know.
And I know, I mean, it's kind of, it's heavy if you really think about it. And then I look at the people here, the ones that are out most are younger people, because for some reason they just think they're immune to everything. There was just a fight in the city. It had 50 to 70 people involved. If you're fighting, don't tell me you're social distancing. And I was just like, that number of people, really? 70 people fighting? And then someone made a comment about, well, if it was that many, we know what color they were. And then somebody else said, really? And then they said there was no shooting or no injuries. And then they said, well, we know what color they weren't if there were no shootings. And I'm like, really? You know, sometimes I just want to jump through Facebook, you know, and I'm not going to talk about 45.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's another whole conversation, as somebody said. That's another whole conversation when you bring that up. But this situation brings so many things. It brings emphasis to so many things, and a virus is causing a spiral or many spin-offs. I mean, so even when we get back out to whatever the new normal is going to be, whatever that's going to be, look at all the situations that are going to have to be dealt with. And we talked about the things going on in the home, but let's talk about the frontline workers that need counseling now. They need counseling.
Yes.
I mean, a doctor, an ER doctor. You know, her father went to New York to get her, brought her to Charlottesville, and she committed suicide.
Yep.
Because she wasn't able to mentally handle the psychological warfare of a COVID-19 ER experience. So look at all.
Yep.
I mean, we just got a myriad of things. Go ahead, Cedric.
Yeah, that's been my main concern as well about the frontline workers, especially the nurses and doctors that are working around with the in the hospital with these patients, how they're actually dealing with it and coping with it, having to work 10, 12 hours, 16-hour shifts. How are they able to cope and actually sit down and actually wind down and really think and get help, dealing with the virus and dealing with the loss of loved one, loss of patients, having to see patients die by themselves, no family around. That really concerns me, especially when it comes to the frontline workers, the doctors and the nurses and everyone in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a number. It's just so many things that this one experience brings, and we've not even talked about the financial repercussions that come from this for not just individual families, not just for communities, not just for cities and states and churches, even this nation, even every nation around the world is being touched financially by by this, by supposedly this COVID-19 situation. They're talking about we're about to be in shortages of food supply. I mean, we're being affected in that way. And you've got administration saying, don't close those factories. Now, some people may say, well, gosh, you got to close the factories. Maybe we can, maybe they can just test people, and the ones that are affected or have temperatures go home, but raise the wages, and maybe some of us who are sitting at home will come out and go to work if you raise the wage, if you raise the wage high enough to where the risk is there, the risk reward factor is high enough that somebody would be willing to take the risk. But if somebody's at home getting, in the state of Virginia, if you're getting the full unemployment from the state plus the extra 600 from the government, you're what, $968 a week. And people who are getting that kind of money, who are actually getting it already, what incentive do they have to go and punch a clock at $11 an hour and putting themselves in harm's way?
Hmm.
How patriotic is anybody going to be at that at that point? Because even when I made the decision to come in, my work was down about 80%, but I made the decision to come in until I got a grasp on what was going on, because I have children that I want to be around for. And me being around for them was more important than the fact that my April's rent still hadn't been paid and tomorrow's May the 1st. And that's the truth. Because with or without an apartment, I can be alive, but I can be out there not knowing what's going on and come up missing, and my rent still due. And my kids trying to figure out now what we're going to do, that dad left us way too soon.
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm pausing, I'm waiting.
I think about my kids in that respect all the time because I constantly have to tell my daughter, look, I can't afford for either one of y'all get sick because I'm not trying to go near a hospital and they ain't gonna let me in anyway. And I guess things got real for me when my transplant doctors contacted me and they canceled all my appointments. And
Wow.
they check up on me like every month. And then now they also reduced me from getting my blood work done like 3 times a month, to only get it once a month now. And they said if you can't make for that one, don't go out there. And I was like, what? I had a double transplant, not one but 2 organs, and you don't even want to see me at a doctor's appointment to check on me? And it's like, no, Miss Jordan, only essential appointments. And any other appointment that you have that's not essential, cancel those doctor's appointments too. And they keep sending out us, oh, well, our hospital's this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, I'm not coming to your hospital. I said, if you gotta wait till next year to do the exam, you just gonna be waiting.
Yes. Listen, I was my I'm go ahead, Paul.
I asked the question, how are you feeling?
um, well, I'm feeling okay, and I go to get my blood work done on Monday because it's always the first Monday of the month. And as a routine basis, I have to check my temperature every day anyway. Temperature, weight, blood pressure. That's every day that I wake up. I have to do that with the transplant. And so far I've been feeling okay, um, but just a little tired. But I think that has. I'm also anemic, so I think that might have something to do with that. Um, but even now, when I go get my blood work, they make me wait outside in the car until they're ready for me, and then they'll send me a text message telling me to come in.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I don't need to play around with this for real.
Is our new normal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to say something, Cedric?
No, I'm just yeah, they're doing the same thing here. They are allowing non-essential appointments and surgeries and things because at one time it was only what was essential, what was COVID-19, but now they've kind of loosened it up to where they're starting now to open it up to regular appointment things here because I had one today, but they still grill you in the lobby before they even send you upstairs to actually see somebody.
Yes. And only one person can go in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. I said, well, what am I supposed to do with my kids? If only one other person can be with me.
So is it your husband and you leave your kids where, or you take one of your kids and you leave the
Exactly.
others where, or you go alone?
Right.
Mitchell, I have a question. So, are we redefining what essential is this week in America?
Are we redefining what?
What essential means in America this week?
Well, I think it's being defined as time goes because here in Virginia, yesterday or today, they just decided that the American Dental Association had gotten involved in some way, and now they've decided that the dentist's office is essential because if people don't have, you know, the hygiene of the mouth, can lead to other diseases. So as time goes, there are things that are coming up. There are awarenesses that are happening on all levels on different fronts, and we're gonna see what's essential, to individuals and to us as a collective people. But I want to go back to something that Sandra said earlier, which I thought was brilliant. If it's safe to open up everything, then open up those public offices. I saw a post, and somebody in Georgia did this. Somebody in Georgia did this. Cedric, did you see this? Where somebody literally called the governor's mansion and said that they wanted to come and take a tour.
He's not going to do that. He said on a live a couple days ago, his reasoning for not opening the governor's mansion for tours is because the employees or volunteers, I guess they're volunteers or employees, I don't know. Most of them are elderly people, and the elderly are, in his opinion, are more, would be more susceptible to contracting the virus. So to keep people out and spreading the virus to his volunteers or employees that work at the governor's mansion, he's not going to open it.
So maybe the governor should give the tours himself.
That's what somebody else said. Every time he goes live, he never has on a mask. Never. He never has on a mask. He went down to South Georgia, which is one of the hot spots. Didn't have on a mask. So I'm just kind of confused. But
Listen, I don't want to. I know we could go on forever, but I will give before because it's getting close to the time that I want to end, and I want to give all of you if there's something that you want to say and way of closing remarks, I'll give each of you an opportunity to do that. Sandra, we'll start with you. If you have something you want to share as we close.
No, I think I said it all for once.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Sandra. What about you, Paul? You set it up, and I know what Cedric is gonna do. Are you gonna say anything, Cedric?
I guess I could just, I don't know. I just want to encourage people. I know it's really a tough season, one that we've never, experienced before. And I just want to encourage everyone to keep the faith. I really would hope that more faith leaders would come out and be more active, be more vocal. I know that we're all doing live stream and everything, but it's still work out there that needs to be done. People are dying, people are sick, people need encouragement. So I just want us all to be encouraged and know that um, we still have the victory and we'll get through this.
Yeah. That's one thing for sure. We'll get through it. And as we close, I want to, and I'm not going to read. There was a very long post that someone shared today, and they didn't know who it was from. But I want to share the ending of it. It says, "Friends, we are not in the same boat. We are going through a time when our perceptions and our needs are completely different. Each of us will emerge in our own way from this storm. It is very important to see beyond what is seen at first glance, not just looking, but actually seeing." Listen at this last statement. We are all on different ships during the same storm, experiencing a very different journey. In the same storm, on a different ship, having our own individual journeys. The four of us here tonight are experiencing COVID-19. I'm experiencing it as an independent contractor with kids. Cedric is a social worker with something medically that will give him the ability to stay at home and not have to enter back into the office if it comes to that. Paul is in New York, in the Bronx, a entrepreneur who primarily works from home to help people with their own dreams and visions. And Sandra's a educational background, was an administrator who is now a double organ transplant with children, with school age children. We are all experiencing COVID-19 from different ships, and we're all riding the waves. And I'm reminded of the scripture as we close that they were on the water, and they were on their way somewhere. And I remember the scripture saying this, that some were on boards, some were on broken pieces, but they all made it to the other side. Now, I'm going to say, I don't know about nobody else. Now, I'm going to speak for the four of us that's here and everybody else that's listening to Facebook Live right now. We all getting through this together. And if we really do not focus on these dead bodies that they want to show us in the back of the trailers, and the dead bodies in the back of the U-Haul that they want to show us today, and the dead bodies that they want to show us down in Florida that's sitting at the cemetery in body bags, not even put in the ground, we can focus on that, or we can look at each other and begin to speak life and declare healing and declare freedom and declare the absence of fear, and all come out of this. We don't have to take this attack on that's going on personally against us, personally against African Americans or the Black and Brown community, because of the situations that have placed us at higher risk, because we don't have access to certain things. We can all come out of this, and we shall all come out of this. I want to thank all of you. To my sisters who have been tirelessly trying to get in, we use Zoom several times, and we have never had any problems. And tonight, neither one of them could get in. My sister Hope was going to be coming in as she's a flight attendant for American Airlines, so wanted her perspective, and certainly wanted Dr. Valencia Jones Williams' perspective. But I do thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Cedric, for showing up and for showing up on a short notice. to discuss this COVID-19 situation and whether we lift the restrictions or not from your perspective. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of you who are tuned in, that are listening to us live, and those of you that will watch later. We thank you again for listening to us. And I only want to say to all of you, live life live. What am I saying? Live it on your terms, and that's it. Period. Live it on your terms. Thank you guys. Thank you. I love you all, and have a great
Yes.
night. Bye bye.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome.